Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Athens. Pleasure to be here.
You have an enormous background with working with the school system in the neighborhoods, walking the district, as well as working with the Republican Party here in Stanislaus County. Just take a few minutes and give us a little bit of information about Brett, and
Sure.
I'll grab your sign, we'll get it set up for you so people can recognize it when they see it on the front lawns of your supporters.
Well, I like that. Thank you. Well, my story starts about 17 years ago. My wife and I moved here to Modesto. She was born and raised here, 3 generations, and I met her in college. And so we decided to start our family and our business here. So in 1997, I started a construction company here, and started off with about 5 guys and 2 trucks, and was blessed in a few years to be able to build that to about 40 trucks and about 90 guys. And so in my dealings with my employees, I just came to the realization that most of those guys read and wrote at about 6th grade level. And so we developed a program within our company to help them learn how to deal with basic construction math. Those guys have to know the Pythagorean theorem, how to measure for area and perimeter. And the question came to me is, how was I, a layman, able to teach those guys complicated construction math and help them balance their checkbooks and deal with their taxes, etc. And so it led me to get involved with the Stanislaus Literacy Center. I'm now a board member on that fine nonprofit, and that organization deals with GED programs for young adults, mainly 20 to 30-year-olds. Both of those spheres of influence that I was dealing with led me to the realization that there was a disconnect in the public schools here. There was too many kids not graduating. There was too many young people that weren't seeing a vision of success and having their opportunity to live the American dream. We have an amazing country still. I think you would agree with that. But they are going to be doomed to a cycle of poverty if they don't get a great education. And so I dedicated myself to finding a way to get involved, and the school board is just the next logical step in that. I want to make sure that is a great board. I want to make sure we have a great school district, and I think I have some great plans to do it.
What is the graduation rate as far as the kids entering the freshman year of high school versus the number that actually graduate 4 years later?
Well, in the Modesto City School District, and it mirrors national figures also, unfortunately, it's about 75% do graduate. But specifically among young men and Hispanic young men, more so, 22% of them don't graduate. And I think you know and would agree with me that when you have 22% of young men not graduating, where are they going to end up? They're not going to have happy, prosperous lives. They are going to be more prone to get involved in crime. They're going to be more prone to be on our social services. Those guys are going to be locked into that cycle of underemployment for the rest of their lives. I think as a city, there's nothing more important. You want to know where ground zero is for solving our societal problems? It's the schools. It's the school system, and we've got to raise that achievement level. We've got to get more kids graduating. And there's some programs that are being put into place now that recognize that at the county level and at the district level. And I want to make sure I'm part of that I'm a voice for the community, and that we close that achievement gap, especially among young men.
Do you have children of your own
I
that
do.
They can't be high school age?
Believe it or not, my oldest is a freshman this year at Gregory, and a great school. It feels like a college campus. We spent about $140 million, I believe, building that school, north side of Modesto, and she's enjoying it immensely. There's some good teachers out there.
I was actually attending the Salida Parade and Festival a few weeks ago, and I noticed that Gregory High School did have a booth there for their festival, and the booth that kind of got my attention was the music booth. And I understand they have an orchestra there?
I believe so. Not all high schools have all the programs. They've kind of divided them up. That's part of the issues with the economic decline, that we've had to move some of those programs around. I know that there's additional cost to be involved in those programs, sports than the arts. And that's something that's one of my platform tenets, is that those programs and I hate to use the word hook, but that's really what it is. It's a way to keep those kids engaged and keep them involved in school. I know for me personally, sports was a huge part of my life growing up. And although I got a good education and I went on to college and got my degree, I really feel that being involved in the football program and wrestling and basketball, it kept me involved. I knew I had to have a certain grade point average to be part of to play. And I think the arts, music, as you were referring to, is essential. We need to keep those programs strong.
Last week we were talking with the guests about Common Core and that whole new curriculum that's coming into the school system here, not just in California, but across the United States. Is that going to affect the high schools as well?
Well, yes, drastically. It's in place. The governor approved it in '09. The Department of Education said that that's the direction California is going to go. We recently just dropped STARS testing, which was part of the No Child Left Behind program instituted by George Bush in 2001. And we're moving towards helping our teachers get instructed and up to grade on the Common Core curriculum. That curriculum is still being formatted, so we don't really know what it's going to be. There is a lot of folks have concerns about it. Anything new, you will. Ultimately, though, the consensus is that it's going to be harder than STARS, that testing process, and that it's going to have kids think more analytically, more emphasis on their writing skills, how they got to the answer. And right now we're trying to equip our teachers so they can teach that properly and efficiently. And that's the goal of the district, is to take this program that we've adopted and make it work for our kids. Whether you agree with it or not, there's a lot of folks that have qualms about Common Core. It's here, and now is the time to make sure it works for our kids. So
running for Modesto City Schools is not just high school. It's K through 12,
That's correct.
correctly?
Yep.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you will interact with the other people on the school board and how you will bring forward some of your ideas and your goals to the school board, because it's not
Sure.
just high school or not just elementary school. That's
right.
13 years of school there.
And additionally, as you stated, the misconception is as a board member, you're a manager. You're not. You're one voice out of 7. You're part of a steering committee, of oversight committee, to make sure that the district is following the procedures and the superintendent is staying on mission, and that you're listening to your constituent base, which is the parents of these students. They're the parents' kids. They're not the school district's kids. And so we need to make sure we listen to them and know what they want. The K through 12, 34 schools in the Modesto City School District, 8 high schools, 22 elementaries, 4 junior highs. It's a huge district, 30,000 kids. So there's a great responsibility to be on the board to make sure that those kids in our community are well served. And on the board, and I'll be candid, it's a good board. And if I had a political consultant, he would probably say, hey, don't say that. But there's some good folks on the board, and I've had the pleasure to talk with almost all of them. I think the school district in Modesto struggles with the same problems that a lot of school districts throughout the Central Valley do. We have a lot of poverty in our area. We have a lot of kids that English is their second language. And we need to address those issues without losing sight that we do have kids that are achieving. And that's through all grade levels. And Enoch's High School alone, 25% of all the kids are in AP classes. That's fantastic. Let's not lose sight of those kids that are doing great too, but make sure that we're bringing those other kids up and close that achievement gap.
I had a great question for you, and I completely lost it because I was listening to what you were saying, and that's great that I can listen to you because you're very engaging. So I'm hoping that the school board will be as engaged with you when you bring your ideas forward as well. I'm going to go ahead and hold your sign up here again for just a moment while we get ready to... There we go. Great. Hey, we got it right that time. So tell me where we can find you, and in just a moment, because I just remembered that question, and that is, a minute ago you were talking about the parents, that the school board is not the children's parents. The parents are the children's parents. Sometimes teachers think that they are the kids' parents.
Well, you open a huge question there. First of all...
So tell me about those teachers and what you plan on doing with them that are either overstepping their bounds, not taking the initiative that teachers should, or they're not teaching.
Well, let's talk about the role of the schools real quick. You brought it up. That in our society today, the American family is struggling. Poverty is a huge part of that. The way our culture is operating, we've put the onus of responsibility on the schools and our teachers to be more than just instructors. They are counselors, pastors, parents, friends. They are taking care of a lot of things that in the past the family took care of. So whether you agree with that philosophically or not, that is the case. So we need to make sure we equip those teachers to be able to handle that huge responsibility. As far as teacher accountability, this is a huge issue for me. In any institution, you have to be able to identify someone who's underperforming. You have to be able to identify someone who's struggling and have a fair and cost-effective mechanism to deal with those employees. When Jack Welch took over GE, he had a policy that the bottom performing 10% of all employees were put on probation and evaluation and then ultimately dismissed. Now, obviously, you cannot do that within the current structure of the way our schools are set up. But we definitely need to have a good procedure to help those teachers become good teachers if they're not doing it. Right now, they just get moved around, and that's unacceptable because ultimately, who gets hurt with that? Our kids. And I won't stand by and let that happen.
So are you telling me that if you're elected, that those non-performing teachers need to be looking over their shoulder because they will be put on watch?
Well, I think that's no offense to you, that's a little incendiary, but I will say that there definitely needs to be a fair and cost-effective mechanism, as I stated before, to make sure that those teachers get up to par. And right now that mechanism is extremely expensive. It can cost several $100,000 to deal with a teacher that needs to be dismissed, and that's taxpayer dollars. And those are dollars that don't make it into our classrooms because we're wasting it on litigation. And
Right.
It's an ineffective system, and it definitely needs to be improved.
Tell us where we can find you.
Well, you
I'll
can
hold your
find
sign up
me
again.
at voteforbrettmcbay.com.
Okay.
And on that website, I expound on my policies and views. And there's also a link to my personal email, and I'd love to hear from you.
Very good. Also on Facebook, I think.
On Facebook also.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brett.
You bet. My pleasure.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.